Welcome, everybody, to this episode of The Role and the Player, taking a deep dive with some of our favorite characters and the fascinating minds behind them. Upon first meeting today's guest, many are brought on a conversational trip, easing in on a cascade of banter before tearing through blistering freestyle battles, empathetic advice, and the invigoration of a hype manning only manifested from a mind ascended to planes of existence beyond what can be achieved by mere psychedelics. Therapist, BC boy, OnlyFriend, Hoblin Goblin, level 34 wizard, Benedict Silhouette, Buttons the Clown, whatever name you know him by, we all can recognize him as the city's bestie. Please join me in welcoming Ben Sillysigh. How are you doing today, Ben?
Wow, I'm doing just great. Thank you so much for having me on the show. It's such an honor.
Oh, the honor is truly ours. So, Ben, could you please introduce yourself to the people?
Yeah, so a little bit of fun facts. I was homeschooled by my two lovely hippie parents. I grew up exclusively on a farm where my parents grew, I guess you could call them vegetables. And it wasn't until I moved to the city at the ripe young age of 32 that I first got to meet other people, really. So, that's some fun facts. There you go.
And I suppose that segues very nicely into my next little question here. Could you give us a brief synopsis of your life in Los Santos so far?
I guess I'd have to start with it's not all fun and games. But, I'd say the struggles that I've encountered just pushed me to new limits that forced me to grow in ways that I never thought I could do otherwise. So there's definitely, there's a lot of risk and reward, but the rewards seem worth the risk. That's the best way I could put it, honestly.
What are you passionate about? What motivates Ben Sillysigh?
Well, I really enjoy helping people. It's one of my favorite things. That's actually the driving force as to why I've become a privatized therapist. In fact, I was actually running for potentially being considered for head of the psych department, but unfortunately, a few days ago, those ambitions got laid to rest due to unfortunate criminal charges for defending myself in my house.
Oh goodness, that is quite unfortunate. Would you be willing to divulge to our good listeners here what happened?
Yeah, so I mean, I woke up and I've been waking up lately at the fun house as one of the places that, I've been granted the luxury of having access to. And these past couple of days, or weeks rather, have been kind of hectic. I don't know if the viewers are aware, but the clowns are unfortunately at war. We're at war with the mimes. And as I was doing my routine inspection of the place after waking up, it wasn't until shortly after that a mime actually showed up with a fully automatic weapon and started shooting at both me and Cupcake. I used my legal M1 911, I believe it is, and I used that to incapacitate the shooter, and I rushed Cupcake outside where a swarm of police were in hopes that someone could help them, and they quickly detained me and confiscated my guns because unfortunately I was given a gun from somebody else after doing a therapy session, so I can't say who it was. But unfortunately, that gun was hot. So I got charged with
Oh no.
those crimes, and yeah, so it was just a big unfortunate situation all around.
Mm. Given that obstacle has been presented your way, what do you see is your path forward?
Well, I mean, now I feel there's nothing really restraining me outside of my financial situation. I'm really broke, so if anybody has any money and would like to send me some money, my uh my state ID is 1999.
Oh, could you please
So
repeat that for us?
yeah, so my state ID, if you're willing to send me money because I'm extremely broke and in debt at the moment, is 1999.
Hear that, folks? For those of you with philanthropic hearts out there, you know what to do.
As for the whole therapy, I mean, nothing's gonna stop me from being a privatized therapist. I'm still out here on the streets helping people in need, and my first sessions are still free. So come contact me. That's a line of my rap song, therapizing. People love it.
Yes, we do understand you are also quite a prolific musician. That actually segues pretty nicely into my next question here. I would like to read a series of lyrics. City cipher track, better watch your back. Slow with the flow till I attack. There's no bouncing back. With my lyrics, there's no slack. My therapy is appealing, but even with my healing, you're still feeling emotional damage. Now, it has been almost 1 year to the day since the release of the City Cipher. And folks, what you heard there were Ben Sillysigh's very lyrics on that cipher. Mr. Sillysigh, how has your approach to music evolved since the City Cipher?
Well, I still look back at when I first started writing on the track, and there are still moments of inspiration I can still extrapolate, even from the beginning markers. However, even I have noticed a significant growth, and I think that what has attributed to that is seeing my work in action, feeling more confident with what I'm saying, and when that happens, I get more inspiration to try new things, as well as when I do these things, I do them with a newfound layer of confidence each time, right? So I would definitely say that my lyrics have definitely gotten a lot more space controlled, if you will, and
Mm.
thought provoking at the same time. That's what I would say on a personal note.
Truly incredible. Where can people hear some of these incredible songs that you have created?
Well, I know that they're kind of spread out because I know that some people can find them on the Spotify's and some people can find them on the SoundClouds. And but most of the time people can guarantee to find them if, they happen to run into me in the city, or, if they ask me to play something. I typically have all of our good hits on it's just ready to go. So
Truly incredible. Now, it seems as though, whether it's through your vocation as an independent therapist or simply being a man about town, you have a lot of connections. The people want to know, who are the 3 people in San Andreas that are most important to you?
um are these like just any people of any time, or just
Feel free
like
to interpret it as you wish.
okay, well, I would still say, even though I'm not able to speak with them on a current daily basis as I used to, one of the most impactful people in my life by far was my bestie, who unfortunately passed away, uh, Chassie Marie Sanders. She was amazing. Um, I miss her every day. and I get excited whenever it's someone's birthday because we actually, the BC Boys, we actually made a birthday track called the Birthday Bash. It was created on the fly. Kenzie did an amazing job with the beat and the production. It was all done live within 5 minutes. Um, and Kenzie and we happen to have some bystanders, one of them being Chastity, on that track. So, you know, we get to hear her every once in a while, which is nice.
Ah, what a heartwarming tribute.
Yeah, but you said 3 people. Second would definitely be Max Dumont. Shout out to Max if he's out there, if he's watching. He's probably he's not the first person I met in my travels into the city, but he's the first real, like, what could I say? He's like that first person you meet that you can just tell you guys are gonna hit it off, if that makes sense. Like the first person where it's like you just met, but it feels like you guys feel like you've known each other for a long time. It's kind of the same feeling I have with Chassis, but I just happened to meet Max first, and yeah, Max and I, we've had our ups and our downs, and we're intertwined musically. He's part of the BC Boys. He's also part of the new group we're in called Relentless G. It's just the 2 of us. He's just great guy. A little misunderstood sometimes because he's a shaman, and he's been to the astral plane, and apparently, allegedly, he's fought off entities that resemble Cthulhu, not quite the same, but resemble it, and just crazy things of that nature. But he's definitely one of my best friends. Now, as for third person, I don't know. This is actually really tough for me because I typically like to think of everyone as a really good friend, right? So I don't really know how I could actually answer the third one.
Maybe the third one is just see all of the above.
Possibly, but I'll tell you what. If something pops in my head later down the line, I'll draw back to that. But in the meantime, I'll just stick with, I'd like to just think that everyone's kind of on that same importance to me, if that makes sense.
It absolutely does.
Awesome.
Now, you spoke a little bit about your friend Max Dumont being a bit misunderstood. What is one thing you wish people understood about you?
Well, I'd probably say the biggest thing I wish people understood is not that the biggest stigmatism I get is when people find out that I do therapy. It seems like everyone kind of has this feeling of how therapy goes or how they understand it or whatever, right? And I try and assure people that I don't really do it the traditional way. I do it kind of in a way where I like to hear what someone's going through and bounce off perspectives that, one, get them to understand that I understand where they're coming from, right? Because I feel that no one's gonna want to listen to anything if they feel that they're not being heard, if that makes sense. And then I take that and provide different perspectives on it, but in a way that I know that they can understand it, and that allows them to make a better decision, or at least a different decision, right? Where they can now have the freedom to think about it in a different way than the way that they've been trapped to view it, because we all fall victim to that. We all have our own perspectives, and we all would like to believe that we're right. So, but we all live in this crazy world together, and it's important to remember that.
generous thought. Certainly something we could all take note of. Well, along those lines, now the question I have for you, Ben. Are you ready?
Ready for what?
Ready for a round of rapid fire questions. We are about to jump into a minute of the most hard-hitting questions that we can throw at you. I want you to answer them without even giving them any thought. Are you ready?
Okay, let's get to it.
Jumping on in. Ben Sillysigh, what is your favorite color?
Blue.
Hunting or sanitation?
Oof. Hunting.
Favorite drug?
Weed.
Favorite pizza topping?
Cheese.
Describe yourself in 3 words.
Awesome, cool, and therapist.
What's your worst trait?
I can't smell.
Best trait?
I can't smell.
Vintage or new?
Oof, that's a tough one. I don't know. Vintage.
Favorite game?
Favorite game? Freaking, I don't know. It's all the time. League of Legends, I guess? I don't know.
Sweet or
that's
savory?
a terrible one. Sweet.
Clowns or mimes?
Clowns.
All right, Ben Sillysigh, you just made it through our rapid fire questions. And now we have some submissions from Life Invader of curious individuals that have questions for you. This one is from Spot the Dachshund. Do you prefer one-on-one therapy sessions or couples/group sessions?
You know, that's actually a great question. And I gotta say, I've had unique experiences with both. And I can uniquely remember the sessions that were just the best. I can remember them as if they were yesterday. Like, I could paint them in my mind easily. But I would say on average, I have more vivid memories of group sessions than I have of one-on-ones. Now, that's not to say that I don't like the one-on-ones more or less. It's just, you know, if you want to look at it like that, I've had more easy to remember group sessions than I've had unique one-on-ones. So I don't know if that answers that.
I think you answered that beautifully. Our next question from Life Invader comes from AC_decoy. How did you become a clown?
Ooh, that's a really great question as well. So, so it came unexpected. I happened to be working as a DLC guard at the time, and unfortunately, there were some clowns that were going through a rough time, and they weren't quite themselves. And a clown that I believe goes by the name Cracky ended up hypnotizing me and had me believe that I was a clown with the name Buttons. And I lived under that ruse for a couple of days until Joanna Golding, who now goes by Jojo the Clown, unironically, she at the time was a registered therapist and happened to help find out or figure out that I was hypnotized and managed to dehypnotize me, which then I reflected for a while on how I felt living under that ruse of being tricked into being a clown with the name Buttons, right? But then I came to terms with it and accepted it and came to actually embrace it, because when I looked back at it, was I upset that I didn't get a say in the matter, yes. But with that time that I had as a clown, I felt more able and free to be myself and how I would like to be in the world than I ever had before. So I decided to just embrace it. And I even went so far as I actually got my face has a tattoo. It's not face paint. So.
Uh-huh. And a brief follow-up to that, where did the name Buttons come from?
That is actually Cracky decided to name Buttons when I was hypnotized, and it just kind of stuck. So I just stuck with the name. I'm actually working on a song right now called Button Up. It's actually a good. I feel like it's a really cool phrase that I have. You know, when I gotta get serious or something like that.
Our next question from Life Invader. Why the hell did you give me bad therapy advice? Why did you give me false hope? You could have saved me, Ben. Kenny freaking Cushman.
Well, I don't know how to really respond to that because, I mean, ultimately, I did give Kenny Cushman the best advice, and I just feel like he didn't take my advice properly and failed to reach out because he, from what I heard as reports, got a lobotomy done on the streets and didn't even choose to reach out to me before doing that. So I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of things that he unfortunately went through, and I understand that. But to put that all on one person is just that's kind of crazy, you know. I feel like he's shout out to Kenny. I hope he's doing well. If you're listening, Kenny, I hope you hit me up. Maybe we can talk this out. I'm sorry that things didn't work out, and yeah, that's all I can really say, you know.
You know what? A brief follow-up to that, because I am quite curious. Ben, how do you handle, therapy sessions that don't quite go so well? How do you handle it when someone doesn't appreciate or acknowledge the advice that you're giving?
You know, that's actually a really good question. So, what I like to do is before we get into the sessions, I operate them in a couple ways. One, I like to let the clients pick where we have our therapy. I like to give them the home field advantage. I feel that 9 times out of 10, this provides the client with more of um, you know, a comfort level to speak how they would like, uh, and it doesn't feel like they're tricked into being somewhere they don't want to be, if that makes sense. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then I also remind them that, the first sessions are free. And the main reason I do that is because I know that not every therapist is for every client. So, in the event that things don't go the way they'd like, or they had a bad experience, or even if that's on my end as well, then we can discuss that at the end of the session, or even if it gets too crazy, we can end it early. But there's no need to get violent or anything. It just turns into okay, we don't mesh well. We now know that, and hopefully they can find someone that helps them in the way that they see fit.
Wow, what an incredible philosophy you have around this. I suppose
Thank
that
you.
kind of segues to our, what is objectively our last question here. Ben Sillysigh, what is the meaning of life?
The meaning of life. Well, in my opinion, I'd say the real meaning of life is experiencing life. And the best way, in my opinion, to experience life is to go out there, not be afraid, be willing to make mistakes because that's the best way we learn. But also have the mindfulness to recognize when you make a mistake, right? It's not just safe to say, "Oh, I want to make mistakes." You have to recognize when mistakes are made as well. Um, but just go out there, take risks, um, find what you like, learn about the things that you don't like, and just experience life. See what there is to uncover. Because everyone pulls something different. Everyone's gonna experience something awesome, and there'll be people out there that will try and push you down and stuff. That will always happen. But um, just don't put any energy into those things. Just find the things that are worth your time and pursue that. That's the meaning of life. That's what I say.
I think we can all agree that that is a life well lived. Well, Ben, thank you so much for being a guest with us here today. Any parting thoughts or final words that you have for the intriguing viewers and listeners out there?
Yeah, I'd like to say, first of all, thank you so much for having me on the show. It's been an honor. Second, I'd really like to give a shout out to the BC Boys and the new group, Relentless G. We're coming out with some things slowly. We already got the number dance. It's great. People love it. Also would like to say, shout out to Kenny Cushman, who clearly is going through things. I hope he gets the help he needs. But hashtag not my fault. Thank you so much.
Indeed. Hashtag not his fault. Remember that, everyone. Well, again, Mr. Sillysigh, thank you so much for being with us. And for our listeners, we are going to take a brief break and we will return with our next guest. We'll see you in 5. And welcome back, everyone. Now to introduce the show's star, starting with LP, the brains behind the myth, the legend, the wizard himself, Ben Sillysigh. Give it up, chat, for LP, aka at Learning Process on Twitch, spelled LEARNING_PR0CESS. How you doing, LP?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Glad to be here, guys. Glad to be here.
How does it feel, transitioning like that between, Ben Sillysigh and you as LP, the person behind the character?
It's really funny because it's just like anything else in life. You gotta you gotta put in the practice to feel more comfortable with doing things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because in real life, I actually struggle with anxiety. So when I first started Ben and trying to figure out how he'd sound and things like that, I actually used to just like practice the voice like crazy before I'd go live, just to like lock it in, because one of my biggest fears was like, what if I forget the voice in the middle of doing something?
Oh. I imagine that is very easy to, have that happen, especially when you're playing on a server surrounded by a lot of people with very unique voices, and it can be easy to go, wait, am I accidentally copying them? What's going on?
Yeah, not to mention the anxiety is reminding you that even if you don't do something with even if you're not streaming, chances are someone is. So any interaction you have is being recorded. So, you really want to always strive to bring your best. So that's why I'd practiced the voice before, but now it's like a light switch. It's like I can turn it on and off. It don't really matter no more.
Yeah. So, LP, you as the role player, the streamer, why don't you introduce yourself to people?
Okay. Well, I am LP, better known as Learning Process. Um, I don't. I mostly just, as for content, I mostly just make GTA RP as my as my streaming hobby. But outside of that, I'm definitely known to play other games, and I've actually tried to make an effort to become more of a variety streamer as well. But I don't know, it's a little bit of a struggle just
Mhm.
between hardware restrictions and feeling like I don't know what the correct word is, but I don't I'm the type of person where I don't like to stream if I feel like I'm not being entertaining, you know? Um
Mm-hmm.
uh so but yeah, that's just fun little things about me.
Heck yeah. I guess the next question, which is probably the easiest question you're gonna get. What is roleplay? How would you describe it to someone who has never heard of it before?
Okay, that's a good question. So, okay. So in my opinion, roleplay is selecting a role that you wish to play. So first you have to find the role, then you have to make the character, then you have to think about your character in the headspace of how they fit the role. Um, that's basically roleplay in a nutshell, in my mind.
Mm-hmm. Somewhat, I guess, tangential to that. What got you interested in roleplay?
So I would often tell people like I've role played in pretty much every game I've ever played, because the one thing that's more fun than playing a game is playing the game through the lens of the character you're playing. Um, so I would always get super immersed in whatever game I played growing up and find ways to do that. In fact, I didn't really understand what I was doing until someone kind of pointed it out. And it actually wasn't until I was like, I don't know, 13 or so playing World of Warcraft. Um, because for me, doing all the slash me stuff was just like an extra layer of fun. But I didn't understand that that was like what people considered role playing, if that makes sense.
That totally makes sense. So yeah, you've been at it for a while. I guess my next question here is, what led you to role playing on, like GTA RP or specifically NoPixel?
So a good friend of mine on Discord at the time, um, actually was showing me clips of just random streaming events of like GTA RP, which I thought was just like absolutely hilarious. I remember there being clips of like, what was his name? I want to say the name was like Sergeant Eli, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of the first ones I saw, which I thought was just hilarious. And I know that a lot of people in the community seem to not really like this next one that much, but I saw a lot of clips of Penta as well, and that stuff, it made me laugh. So
Mm-hmm.
I got into it through that lens, and of course, I'd probably say one of my favorite content creators that I got like interested in seeing what the scene was like. My favorite one, probably by far, is actually the Chief 1114, I think it is, who
Uh-huh.
plays Fingal Dan is the character I think he's most popular for playing. But yeah, just that atmosphere of seeing like characters living in a fictional world, but like living their best memes. That's like how I visioned it, you know?
That is an excellent way to describe that particular RP style.
Yeah, and that's what really got me hooked into it. It was because I got to see little bits of like the serious side of things, and there is some like level of like, that's awesome that people can like do that. But the things that really drew me in were the moments where where someone was like willing to take a risk or do something funny. Or there's even one clip, I don't remember the name of it or anything, but there's one clip that lives rent free in my head of James Randall in court saying something when they're all like saying something like, I think it's the Pledge of Allegiance or whatever, and they're saying like one nation under God, and James Randall instead says one nation under coil. So you know, those little things. It's the little things in life.
Yeah, it's
you know,
it's a little thing. It's a little bits. Love
Yeah.
bits. Love jokes. Love bits.
yeah.
Hell yeah. What is I guess what is the inspiration behind creating Ben Sillysigh? What led you to go, you know what, I'm gonna play this character in GTA RP. That is what I'm gonna do.
Okay, so in 3.0, I actually played for like about 2 weeks, but I thought I was really bad, so I just gave up. And I played 2 different characters. One of them was oh my gosh, I'm trying to remember their names now. I actually can't even remember the names. That's how long it's been. But one was like an Italian mobster guy who his story was like he got kicked out of the family business, so he decided to move to the island and make a name for himself that would outrival the family like mob. That was like his whole thing. But the gimmick was he was terrible. That's why the family kicked him out. So he's like constantly looking to do crime, but he's terrible at crime. That was like his whole shtick. Then I had another character that I played who I had so much fun playing with a character named Leo. I believe it was like Leo Escobar. And trying to remember that character's name now too. But anyway, I played like this really Bible thumper pushover kid who had a really nasally voice, kind of like this, right? And when I first played him, I made him walk down the south side, and he was pressed by like 3 different gangs, and they all let him go because they were just like, oh, he's some innocent Bible thumper. Like they all felt bad for the fact that they were pressing him, and he was oblivious to the fact of that they were even pressing him. But yeah, so I played those characters in 3.0 and just kind of like took my experiences from those characters and kind of was trying to think of something for 4.0 when I finally decided to go with it. And it all started with like, well, what if I want like, what would I have the most fun role playing as? And I thought about that, and it started with, okay, a goofy character. Okay, well, how do I signify that my character is a goofy character without having to like really express, hey, I'm designed to be a goofy character? And I feel like the easiest way to do that is with the name. So I tried to come up with a name that was like good enough to display that I'm here for a fun time and not just like not just like a serious only time, if that makes sense.
It totally does.
But like I still wanted at least a first name that people would like, if there are serious parts, you know, that I can at least mold into that, right? So that's where the name Ben Sillysigh started from, because the first name Ben, it can easily be taken as a serious tone. And Sillysigh, the whole name as a whole, is a joke on mushrooms. So Ben Sillysigh is if you do last name first, is Sillysigh Ben. It actually took several months before some people caught on, but there actually was one person in character who caught on after like 2 weeks, but unfortunately I think they stopped going into the server after a while, so no one else caught on to that for several months. But yeah, that's basically where the name came from. Was just how do I make a funny, goofy name, and that's basically it. It basically came from that, and and I felt like having this name would allow me to accentuate my character quicker than my previous characters, if that makes sense. Because I can't really remember their names, and maybe that's the problem. Is like I don't think I can forget the name Ben Sillysigh, right? But my other characters who I played, I can remember the characters, but I can't really remember the names. And I feel like if you're gonna make a character, the name is like one of the biggest important things that you can really start with.
I heartily agree with that. What are ways that you are similar to or different from Ben Sillysigh?
Ooh, that's a really good one. Okay, so I don't care what anybody tells you. Everyone inserts a little bit of themselves into their character. Now, there's levels to that. Some characters are even what in the community knows as self-inserts, where it's just basically a copy of like, how would you be in this world? But with Ben in particular, I'd say there's probably like, I don't know, I'd say there's like a quarter of me and 3/4 Ben. Because there's definitely a lot of moments where I, the player, am aware of either certain situations, or I'm aware that like something negative is going to impact my character, right? But because of the way my character is, I let it play out that way on purpose. Just because, one, I know it's funny, it provides good storylines, and in some cases it provides my character with opportunities for growth. So there definitely are moments where like where in my opinion it's more advantageous to put yourself in a purposeful L position from time to time, just for the laughs at the very least, right? And I think it's fair to say that like if you're truly a self-insert, or not that there's any, by the way, I just want to say there's nothing wrong with playing self-inserts, but I do feel that if that's the mentality you're going in with, if you're at least from a boy's perspective like myself, I can be a little competitive. I like to play things like League of Legends on the side, which in the fire questions earlier in character, obviously that's where I leaked in because I didn't know what to say, so I just spat out League of Legends. Don't play League, by the way. Don't play. It's a waste of time. But yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah. And that kind of segues pretty nicely into my next question here. In what ways has Ben changed that has surprised you?
This is gonna sound kind of weird, but like I often reflect on what would Ben be like in other ways too. So there's definitely been things where it shocked me to see Ben's growth. Like, for example, I think even when I first made the character, I actually had ambitions in the beginning of like telling myself, oh, it would be awesome if I got accepted into being one of the clowns, right? But I never like put that as like a forefront. It was just something that I was like, oh, I'm here for a good fun time, and I know that group kind of has that same vision. And so that was something that I didn't really like I don't know how to explain it, because it's like I didn't really make too many efforts consciously to make it happen, but it did happen. And yeah, I've just been having fun with that group, really.
That's actually really neat. Yeah, the way that happened organically in RP, that sort of leads to I guess Our next question here, it may be relevant. What is your favorite RP memory, or what are some RP highlights that stick out to you?
Ooh, okay, RP memories. There's so many good ones. There's ones that, okay. Well, I would definitely say from Ben's perspective, one of his best moments, and I know this is gonna probably be a little punch to the gut, but Ben's perspective, he loved that moment when he actually did meet Chastity Marie, because it was not only did they wear the same outfits, but they matched the same energy, and it was just like a back and forth yes and experience. So that whole thing just was like awesome memory wise. And then other little moments in between, discovering that I could like find a way to make sense of Ben being a wizard, like that moment that I came to that like realization that I could pull it off. That was an awesome moment. Let's see, what else is there? Making the song Cocks Out Tonight, that all started out as a joke. Like it all started out as just like a little joke. And I did the whole thing in character, actually. I purposely stayed up for like 15 hours and then wrote the song in character.
Really?
And presented it in front of, and then presented it in front of Max. And so the whole lyrics of, that's why my part's slow and the lyrics are cooked, is because I made a point to like, I wanted to be in a deranged headspace that would fit, like, if Ben wrote this, what would it be like, right? Also, I don't know if people actually pay attention to this or not, but when we've been releasing songs, I've been making an effort to sound more confident with Ben's new releases than his old ones. So his lisp and stuff is like less and less with every track coming out, and the deliveries are getting more dialed in and things like that. Let's see, other really good memories. The moment where I became a clown is actually kind of like a bittersweet moment. I'm not gonna lie. It made me feel really happy because like I said, I always wanted to be a clown, but I never like really pushed for it or anything. But the part that made it sad was a lot of people came in and flooded with support and were telling me that I was like really good at roleplay, whereas in my perspective, it really just came down to a dice roll between me and the character Cracky, and he rolled like a nat 20 and I rolled a 17. So I just went with his bit, and it was just that simple. It was just I did what he suggested because of the dice roll, but people interpreted that as like me being really good at roleplay, and there's a part of that kind of stings a little bit, because it's like in my mind it's like that's bare minimum of roleplay is doing that in my perspective.
Do you feel like if your character happened to win that dice roll, does it feel as though your RP would have been interpreted differently, or because I imagine you would have been dedicated to RPing out the outcome regardless of whether it was quotation marks in your character's favor or against?
So that is interesting, and I do reflect on that moment, but I'm very open with roleplay, and I'm very like, if there's one thing that I respect the most out of anything by far in the space of roleplay, is when I can tell someone is taking the time to be creative with what they have. So even if I rolled a 20, well, first off, we'd have to probably do another re-roll because they rolled a 20.
Yeah, contested rolls, yeah.
But in a scenario where I win the roll, right? Obviously I wouldn't have been hypnotized in that example. But if they were to have creatively expressed a different way to either attempt it again, or a different way to, like, hold me hostage, or XYZ to get the same type of result, I would have just gone with the flow. That's the whole point of role play, is like sometimes to tell the story, you just got to be able to be a component of that story. So
it's that's just really what it boils down to.
Yeah, that actually.
And I'm a sucker
ooh.
for dice rolls. You know, I'm a sucker for dice rolls.
Gotta respect the dice. Like Spot saying in chat right now, LP respects the dice.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we're in roleplay, right? And anyone who roleplays, even if you don't play Dungeons and Dragons, I think it's a fair assumption that that's kind of like the pinnacle of roleplay, or at least like the founding father, if you will, right?
Mhm.
And if we can't respect dice rolls in roleplay, then what do we have? You know?
Mhm. Yeah, what is there, huh? A lawless land?
Exactly.
Where anything happens?
Exactly.
We simultaneously need rules and to ignore the rules in roleplay.
Mm-hmm.
You have to embody both. But you gotta respect the dice.
Yep, exactly. I always gotta respect the dice.
You know what? This segues really nicely into my next question here. How has your perspective on RP evolved since you started? And this could even be going back to, you know, like WoW and LOL days.
Okay, so how has RP shifted and changed? Okay, so I would definitely say in the beginning, when I was doing it and not aware that I was doing it, it didn't really feel like there was. It felt like you either got it or you didn't. So that's just the feeling I got. It was like you wouldn't always run into people that were about it. You wouldn't get like made fun of or anything for it, but not everyone would be up to speed with what you're trying to do. But every so often you'd find someone that would do some slash me's back and forth, and whenever it did happen, let me tell you, it would make the time that you're spending together so much more enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
But as I got to experience, like, when people were showing me clips of GTA RP, and they were like, yeah, people are just living a character in this fictional world, that's when I was like, oh, that's a game changer, because now the game is about being the character. It's not about playing a game that you just happen to also be able to express yourself in. It's now playing a character, and that's the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how I absorbed it, right? But I would say that my perception over time now, at least being part of the GTA RP community, I would say it's shifted dramatically, because I actually, like I mentioned, I came from a place where I played MMOs like World of Warcraft, but I would play a character in that game, right? Now in things like 4.0, I would definitely say it's more similar to WoW or an MMO than it is to my first original perception of like, oh, the game is playing the character.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. So yeah, it definitely feels like things aren't quite that way. It feels more like you are a character, but in an MMO world almost. Which I'm not gonna lie, for me personally, it kind of does damper it a little bit. It kind of ruined the I guess my rose tinted glasses came off, if you will, right? After the whole honeymoon phase of 4.0.
Mm-hmm.
But in the same regards, I love to give credit where it's due, and let me tell you, that early start of 4.0 was so awesome. All the different people that were involved, all the people that were there for it, all the headaches and everything involved, it was great. Everything about it was awesome. And even though the perspective of roleplay seems to have shifted into this new narrative of, like, once again playing a character, but basically what feels like in an MMO, right? I've still been having fun, and at the end of the day, that's really all that matters.
What advice would you give to aspiring role players? You know, anyone who may be watching or listening who wants to give RP a chance.
Well, actually, it's so funny you say that. There's actually a community that has reached out and asked if I'd be willing from occasion to
be part of an event that they host where they help new people that would like to get engaged or introduced into roleplay. Those two discords, one's called Beyond Worlds and the other one is called RP Training Grounds. And it's just a community of really positive people. There's actually a lot of legendary role players that are actually in there that whenever they host an event, it doesn't happen often, but when it does, we take a giant community of people and put them in a server that someone's nice enough to let us use and just kind of show them the ropes and even engage in a little bit of role play ourselves.
Heck yeah, that is actually really cool. What a fun way to sort of, you know, take something that can be a little daunting, a little, you know, what may feel like a giant unscalable monolith and make it more accessible to people.
Yeah, because, I mean, at the end of the day, all of us believe that, like, the core value of roleplay is when people want to have fun and they want to, like, see what it would be like to be a different character, what that could turn into, right? And just being able to provide people with the scope of kind of like the average server rules, if you will, right? And just kind of prepping them for what they can expect, both the positives and the negatives, and just kind of tips and tricks of how to go forth with those things and willing to take gambles, risks, and have fun. So it's awesome watching people go from uncertainty to like testing it out in theory and practice, and then letting us know afterwards that they're excited to dip their toes into other servers now. So it's always fun.
That's incredible. I'm such a huge fan of that. Well, you know what time it is now.
Is it another speed time?
Yes, you are right. It's another round of rapid fire questions. You got 1 minute. You
Okay,
gotta
here we
answer
go.
as fast as you can. All right, we're gonna see if we can beat your record of I actually didn't keep count, but we're gonna beat your record of how many questions answered last time. Are you ready?
Okay, let's
It
go.
doesn't matter because we're doing it anyways. All right, question number 1. What is your favorite time of day?
Like right before midnight, like I'd say 11 p.m. That's my favorite time.
Favorite word?
Spladunk.
Least favorite word?
Bills.
Do you have any pets?
A cat.
Favorite pizza topping?
Just to make people upset, pineapple.
Favorite color?
Green.
What's your go-to shower song?
Oh no. Rubber ducky.
Favorite curse word?
That'd have to be fuck.
If you could force permit anyone, who would it be? Oh, I guess we're out of time. Oh, shucks.
Dang.
Oh, shucks. Unfortunate. Ooh.
I see somebody's asking in chat.
Name of cat. I was about to say, could you illuminate that?
So I actually got him originally from my sister, who thought that he wasn't quite the appropriate fit for their household.
Aw.
And they originally gave him the name S'mores because of his color palette.
S'mores.
But unfortunately, every time we'd call him that, he never responded. So we just started like spitting out different names until we could tell that he's like actively responding. So his name now is Smokey. And
Smokey.
Absolutely adorable cat. He's a long-haired cat, and he's got like a little mustache as well as socks on each of his feet. So
Wow. Incredible. LP, what kinds of activities or hobbies do you enjoy out of RP/streaming?
I really enjoy doing the music stuff. I never thought I would get into it as much as we did, but it is a lot of fun. I also really enjoy hanging out with Dev, who plays Max. So it's awesome when you get to meet the people such as yourself, by the way,
it's awesome when you get to meet people that play some of the awesome characters you interact with. But it just so happens I like Dev and I are mesh super well IRL as much as the characters do. So it's been a blast being able to hang out with him whenever we get that opportunity. Unfortunately, time zones don't like us, so
That can be tricky. What is the best piece of advice you have ever received?
I definitely firmly believe that the best thing to do is find something that you enjoy. Like, it's not that I know that sounds easier said than done, but if you find something you enjoy, make sure it's something that you enjoy enough to invest time in. And if you find that thing to invest that time in, do it to the utmost, and don't just do it on your high days, do it on your low days too. And if you're able to commit the time and effort and energy into the activity that you know you really want to do in life, one day that will pay out, and you'll be able to look back at all the hurdles and be so glad that you stuck with that commitment rather than just giving up halfway or whatever it is. Just make sure if you find something you love, do it like you really love it, and the love comes back. That's just my personal advice.
That is incredible advice. I think something that we could all do to remember from time to time, and that actually segues really nicely, unexpectedly well, into some of our Discord and chat questions that we had submitted. The first one from Mod God themselves, Spot the Dachshund. How do you find a healthy balance with RPing, doing creative projects for in-game things, and IRL stuff outside the game itself?
I don't. I've got crippling ADHD. I work a full-time job, and I enjoy role playing as well as making music. And the biggest hurdle by far is fitting in the time to do all those activities. So I don't really have like a set schedule, which I should have. But I have like set days, and that's the best I can shoot for right now. But yeah, the answer to that is I don't really have a good way of managing that, and I need to work on that.
I guess kind of harkening back to the crippling ADHD, you're kind of just living life in freestyle jazz mode.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel that.
The whole reason I'm able to freestyle so well, is just because that's just I'm out here surviving on freestyles, guys.
Ooh. Actually, that ties in really nicely with our next question from AC Decoy, another one of our mod gods. What are your biggest musical influences?
That would be really hard to pinpoint because I'm just a fan of music, and I was actually lucky enough to experience some time in real life. I had an opportunity to live with an actual musician who traveled the world and did EDM shows. And fun fact, I don't actually really care for EDM. Like, I can respect it as art, but it was just fun being able to live with an artist that did this for a living and see into the scope of what that is. And we often used to just talk about music theory all the time, and I'm a bit of a history nerd, so getting that insight into the history of music made me respect it so much more. And then once we got into music, it just was like I listened to basically everything, right? And I the only thing I can truly say is the two things I won't necessarily like go out of my way to listen to would be country and opera, but I still can respect the genres, right? And I even actually recently produced a country soundtrack for well, I don't want to give away too much, so maybe I'll just leave that. But yeah, so I don't really have like a direct inspiration, but I definitely, my favorite genre of music is rap, and I definitely could name off several artists from there. So I don't know.
Yeah, I guess let's narrow it down to rap. Who is inspiring you right now? Who is someone that you're listening to and going, wow, this really is getting my neurons firing and getting me jazzed about music?
Well, I think the easiest answer by far would be Kendrick Lamar. I think he definitely set a new standard for the artistic value of rap, right? Like almost bringing back a swing of like conscious rap, if you will. But an artist that I've looked at and been inspired by the most, well, one of them being Mac Miller, who unfortunately is no longer with us, but also Tyler the Creator, because if you look at his roadmap of success, there hasn't really been an album that kind of like sounds completely the same. It feels like he has definitely taken a chance and a gamble and explored different paths. And it also just feels almost like the music itself has matured. Like if you look at like his previous work, it fits a younger audience, right? But if you look at his more recent stuff, it can still have like suggestive themes or like rowdy tones, if you will, but it definitely sounds like it's coming from more of a sophisticated perspective and less of just a, you know, rowdy teenage angst type of feeling, if that makes sense.
It absolutely does. It is fascinating listening to him in interviews talking about, you know, comparing his current stuff to like his Yonkers phase. Like even if you're diving into
and they're both good.
They're both great.
Is the awesome thing. The awesome thing about it is like they're totally different from one another. And if you were to like show someone some of his work who had no idea about him, they probably wouldn't even know it's the same person, you know? And I feel like there's something about that that's awesome to extrapolate from. Another artist just off the cuff on that same tone would also be Lil Yachty. When he came out with that album, and I'm terrible with names, but he came out with an album that almost sounded more like Pink Floyd than rap. I had so much respect for him just because it's like, dang, this really shows the dedication he has to music and finding different ways to express himself rather than just trying to put himself in a box that kind of fits like a character of its own, you know?
Our next question here from Dexton Feldark. What was going through your head when you woke up and fought the Baron?
What was going through my head? Well, I remember the first things I kept thinking was like, should I use my Glock or should I use the M1911? And I ended up picking the M1911 thinking, oh, maybe they won't search me because, you know, they'll see that the bullets are my legal gun and da-da-da. Nah, that all crumbled anyways.
That's so good.
But I will say this. I was not expecting to win in that exchange. After all, he had a fully automatic weapon. And we're also talking about the streamer Wet Bow. This guy has been in the game for quite some time, has the upper hand, in my opinion, in combat scenarios, and also had a fully automatic weapon. So I was not anticipating in any way whatsoever to even win in that outcome. So it definitely was a shock to me when I found out that I actually won in that confrontation.
Incredible. Ooh, we just got one from our live chat. Do you think talented musical artists share similar traits as talented our peers with the range they have?
In the sense of like the music they provide, or is the question like saying like, do I think that musical artists could also be talented role players?
Interpret that as you will.
Okay. Well, if we're going, I'll answer it in both ways. If we're basing it off of just like music, yeah, okay, I'll answer both. If we're looking at just music, I mean, first of all, music is subjective, right? Some people think certain songs are absolute bangers, 10 out of 10, can't get better than this, and someone else can hear the same thing and think, why would anybody want to listen to this? So it's always kind of hard to answer that specifically, but I can say, at least from the quality that I've seen presented in NoPixel, there definitely does appear to be a range of like amateur to someone who really took the time to make it as clean as possible and can almost be indistinguishable with something that you might hear even on like the radio. So you definitely have like that range in the RP space. The only difference is in real life, if we're talking about talented musical artists, typically that's all we really hear on the radio, whereas in the cities and the servers, it's a chance for people to be able to do that. So you're not always going to hear something that sounds like that same quality, right? But you might still hear something that you'll go, dang, that I can see the vision, and I hope that gets cleaned up because that's a banger, you know? Now, as for the other half of that question, do I think talented musical artists could potentially also transition to being talented role players, given that they're role playing a musical character? I'm assuming that that's like what we're thinking of. I think anybody can do role play confidently because, in my opinion, it all starts with imagination, and I think we all start off with a good sense of imagination. I think if you've lived life and you've been a kid, you probably have experienced imagination. And I feel like, if you put yourself in the right environment, even if you don't pull it off when you're getting started, you'll eventually find yourself being able to do it.
Now let's switch seats for one question. You're the interviewer now. You have any questions for me?
Okay, I would like to know what got you interested in roleplay.
That is an excellent question. So I, very briefly, I have a background in theater and improv. And I really, over the past, 5 years or so, have gotten really into more improvised narrative long form storytelling, where you are really just experiencing and sharing a story with someone in the moment, not scripted, just truly allowing other people's brain cells to bounce off of your own to create something. And one of my friends shared with me a clip. It was Dundee and Yuno doing house robberies. And I remember thinking that was one of the funniest darn things I'd ever watched. So I went down a rabbit hole of watching different role players like Whippy, Buddha, and I started seeing there's a variety in the kind of role play and improv styles that are in this server, in this kind of medium. And I was very drawn to the sort of creative and performance challenge that it presented, and the opportunity to share and tell really unique stories.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's that is my short answer for that. Now, let us take a brief pivot here. why do we love LP? For longtime viewers of this stream and LPs, that answer is exceedingly clear. But for the uninitiated, here are some submissions that we got in our chat and Discord as to why we love LP, aka learning process. This one's from Spot. Some of my favorite RP moments are Ben and Chastity Bestie time. There were so many moments mixed with deep conversations and giggles that were great to watch. LP is someone so incredibly talented and fun. Even when I can't always catch a live for LP, I hope to somehow see Ben in passing because it's always a blessing to witness. It is a dopamine hit every single time as a viewer. This one comes from AC Decoy. I was watching Roberto Breeze, and at the food court, Buttons was having a rap battle with someone else. It was my first time seeing Buttons, and it was so fun. LP, you drop sick beats and bring joy to scenes that are entertaining. And with that, I have to heartily agree. Getting to run into Ben Sillysigh on my character Chastity Marie outside of the apartments and immediately clicking, linking, and just absolutely going on a banter spiral in regards to how fashionable our sweaters looked. And how our outfits were matching. I knew right then and there that was going to be someone I would have a lot of fun RPing with. You are consistently someone who is so good and so quick with yes-anding scenarios and finding ways to give improv gifts to people, giving, not only yourself an opportunity to have fun, but bringing other people in on that fun as well. And I think you are someone who strikes an admirable balance between not only utilizing the full, bonkers, chaotic hilarity that can come out of GTA RP specifically, but also those more grounded and sincere moments. And I think that is something that people really enjoy about you as a role player, whether they are a fellow RPer or just a viewer happening upon your character, whether they're watching your stream or watching someone else's.
Dang it! I was not expecting to get glazed like this, guys. I'm not gonna lie.
Haha, get glazed. Get glazed, nerd. Actually, we do have another one. Another question for you that just came in from chat. Why are you so stinky smelly? And that comes from Newt.
Well, it's probably a good time to mention, New actually goes by the name Keanu. He's actually been a thorn in my side ever since he joined my community. He's actually the leading founder of the LP Haters Union. And he's constantly looking to recruit people in my own chat.
Oh, they unionized. How wonderful. We love unions on this pod.
Yeah. But it's all lies, it's all fake news. I am not a stinky butt.
Well, you are hearing it here first, chat. First off, support unions, support your local unions, whether they hate LP or love them. But more importantly, LP is not stinky nor a butt. Incredible. You know what? LP, thank you so much for being our guest here today. I really appreciate it. I know for a fact that a lot of our listeners and viewers here really appreciated your insights in regards to, your philosophy behind RP. It's a very refreshing perspective.
Yeah, well, it's all, like I said, it's all rooted with just if you enjoyed being a kid and playing games that involved imagination, because I don't know where everyone else comes, everyone experiences a different story in life, but I'd like to think that most people, even if it wasn't called the same thing, we as kids, you probably had moments where
you're throwing make-believe spells at somebody who then is telling you reasons why those spells didn't hit, and things around that nature. You know what I mean? And if you enjoyed those moments in life, you can have that. You can almost relive that same experience, but now as an adult, where people can actually like tether real, creative reasonings rather than just make completely made up ones and tell you that it didn't work. But yeah, if you like imagination and you're willing to reward the fact that everyone's there to have fun and you can respect dice rolls, you'll have a good time.
Heck yeah. Now, our last question here. What is next for LP? Is there anything that you want to plug?
What is next? Well, honestly, the next thing on my list is just my stream on Monday. I stream Monday through Friday. I typically stream anywhere between 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I 99% of the time will be doing GTA RP, but that 1%, who knows? I might do whatever. And I've actually even also been looking to do some Vera games too. But yeah, that's really all I got planned.
Brilliant. And you know what? Before we end here today, do you have any parting words for our intrepid listeners here today?
Yeah, I would just like to say, guys, it has been both a blessing and a gift to meet a lot of the content creators behind some of these really creative characters. And Kaylee, by far, has been such a joy to interact with, regardless of what character they play. You're in for a good time. And I'm so glad that they started off these interview segments and also had me in mind to be on the show. So I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate the memories that you gave me. And I'm not just talking about Ben, because, I played the character. So don't tell Ben, but I'm stealing those memories. And I definitely enjoy just getting even an opportunity to spend some time with you. Whether it's in role play or even if it's just chatting. So yeah, that's really all I'd like to say, guys, is if you really enjoy good content, genuine content coming from a really likable person, then hey, you found the right stream. Be sure you hit that follow button.
No.
Be attentive the next time they go live.
/me mutes LP. This isn't about me. This isn't about me. /me
but
mutes. Muting LP.
I gotta say whatever I want.
You know what? That is fair. Now, I'm going to exercise my right as the Machiavellian draconian ruler of this podcast. I'm gonna assassinate the vibes and I'm gonna mute LP. All right, our final question. If you could force perma anyone, who would it be? Oh, we are, chat, we are out of time.
Okay.
We are out of time, but chat, chat and listeners, for those of you listening to the podcast in the yet to be determined future, make sure that you give learning process learning_PR0CESS a follow on Twitch. Make sure that you follow, is there a particular Spotify artist that you usually have your music posted to, or is it, Spotify,
honestly,
SoundCloud, wherever they can find you?
It's kind of sporadic right now, but I really just need to make one. That's really what it boils down to.
As is the way. Well, LP, thank you so much for being a guest today. I really appreciated all of the insight that you shared. It really does mean a lot.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been quite a journey, but I'm so glad that I took it.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, I got to meet a lot
Brilliant.
of cool people, including yourself.
Hey, you're pretty cool too. Remember that.
I'm kind of the coolest, some
Well,
might
yeah.
say.
Yeah, one could say he's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Well, chat, with that said, viewers, listeners, those of you on the pod, thank you so much for being here. And again, make sure that you give Learning Process a follow. And we will see you next time.